Lazy Pixel.
Higurashi When They Cry is an iconic piece of visual novel history that was finally fully released in English this past year. It's a substantial visual novel epic across multiple chapters, that of which we've only reviewed 2, chapters 7 and 8, upon their English release. And those conclude the series. So I thought it'd be worth going back to take a look at the series as a whole in one review. This way we can break down the Odyssey from start to finish without being confined to reviewing a single fragment. Yes, it's been a long time coming, but I've been distracted by a few other things, like Umineko When They Cry. Higurashi When They Cry is a series of kinetic light novels about the fictional rural Japanese town of Hinamizawa that takes place in the summer of June 1983. The game initially stars Keiichi Maebara, a transfer student who was only recently moved to the town. It's so small it runs mixed grades. It's here where Keiichi hangs out with his friends and is part of a club, and they spend their days playing all sorts of games with each other, complete with silly punishment games so they can play with some real stakes. That's not why we're here though. You see, for the last 4 years, a bizarre series of incidents have been occurring after the Watanagashi Festival, the biggest yearly celebration in the village. During this event, one person ends up dead and another ends up missing, this being referred to demoned away. This becomes known as the Curse of Oyashiro-sama, as the Watanagashi Festival is supposed to be performed to give thanks and praise to the after-mentioned god, the guardian deity of the town. This year marks the 5th year since the curse began. So, how should you respond to a curse that is being ignored by the townspeople and the sounds of an extra set of footsteps trotting ever so slightly behind you? On the surface, Higurashi When They Cry looks incredibly bare bones. Just to round everything up, we've got the most basic of UI, one pose for each character with questionable art at best. Everyone goes unvoiced, the first half of it uses almost exclusively license-free music. The backgrounds are just bit-crushed photo. There's one CG throughout the entire 80-hour story, and it's for all intents and purposes totally linear with no player interaction. And yet, this is lauded as one of the most significant visual novels of all time. So how do we get from bare bones to the best? Well, it's mostly because this was developed by one guy, Ryokushi07, who started the series back in the early 2000s. Nowadays, there are more than a few ways you can modify a game to be more aesthetically pleasing. But I don't think HD visuals are what players were looking for back when Ryokushi07 was selling the first chapter at Comiket at $2 a disc. The first 4 chapters make up what are called the question arcs. These arcs function as almost standalone stories and provide essential background information for you to construct an overarching narrative with. This is before you're given the knowledge to unquestionably resolve them in the answer arcs, chapters 5 through 8. However, just reading these through one after the other as a passive reader will be doing yourself a disservice, as the way these stories are written allows for some of the most enjoyable theory crafting you can experience. The game taunts you with the information it provides, egging you on to solve the mysteries it puts before you. Is the curse a fabrication, or is it deathly real? If it's fake, why? And if it's real, how does it work? That's just the tip of this narrative iceberg to explore. There's something about searching for the truth on your own that makes you feel like a far more active participant in the story than simply just having a viewpoint character to follow, especially when the narrative sometimes expects the player to be doing so and acts accordingly, which can leave you feeling like a madman arranging papers on a conspiracy wall. An enjoyable rush for myself. Higurashi When They Cry is a sound novel, a particular subset of visual novels that forgoes almost every element of a video game to focus on narrative. It's more like a book with a soundtrack at this point. Our first couple of chapters begin rather simplistically, with a more generic slice-of-life dating sim style of writing that slowly introduces our characters. These events are lighthearted and are aimed to be somewhat comical, but I feel these scenes tend to drag a bit and I'm not a fan of the way the author writes his comedy. However, I am a big fan of how Higurashi 7 writes tension and mystery. And once you hit the Watanagashi Festival, the plot really starts rolling. The author is fantastic at setting up an extremely chilling atmosphere with nothing more than words and a few royalty-free sound effects, pushing the story right into the horror genre. The kinks in the opening chapters are ironed out by chapter 3, the pacing improves, and some specially crafted cry-worthy songs are added. This is where the story begins to openly explore its more serious themes, such as loneliness, isolation, and child abuse, before moving into things like discrimination or mental illness. These issues don't get glossed over either, simply shoved into a story surface deep to make you feel bad for each character's tragic past. Instead, they are intertwined with the plot and become deeply emotional scenes that are confronting, uncomfortable, and distressingly real for both the characters and player alike. It's unsurprising then to learn that the author worked as a civil servant for a time and is merely writing about issues that he saw up close. However, within this madness, something else seeps in. In a bizarre contrast to the oppressive atmosphere, this story has hope, which is what is ultimately shining through. For each scene that puts your jaw over a curb and stomps on it, there's a scene that fills you with warm, fuzzy feelings. Although they're usually in the opposite order. Ultimately, this is a story about hope and communication amidst horrific trials and tribulations. Higurashi When They Cry is a series of visual novels that each show incredible heart. Across the chapters, you're provided with a set of scenarios that are easy to immerse yourself in through some excellent character writing and pacing. This is all then administered in a fashion that allows the player, or at least people like me, to have an incredible amount of fun just theory crafting what all these puzzle pieces mean. Whilst the visuals and basic systems might put you off at first, this is a must-play visual novel for any fan of the genre. No matter who you are, you're guaranteed to get something out of it. Noisy Pixel is giving Higurashi When They Cry 1500 seconds, a 9.5 out of 10. The first chapter of Higurashi When They Cry, Oninakushi, is free on Steam. And if you want to get the most out of it, I would highly recommend finding, a friend who's already played it, a Discord server, or something where you can essentially share your playthrough, have people to bounce off. That makes theory crafting so much more enjoyable. They could also help you make the game just that little bit nicer. Thank you guys for sticking around this far in. Comment down below what you like about the game, specifically like characters and things. Make sure not to spoil things, please. If we could keep the comment section spoiler free, that would be fantastic. Be sure to check out our other reviews written on the site on noisypixel.net, and keep a lookout for other certain titles I'll be writing about very soon. Cough, cough, umineko, cough, cough.